At the commencement of this narrative, we observe an individual named Finn on the surface of the ocean alongside his companion. Finn is on a quest to locate a vessel called Aurelia with his friend, which vanished somewhere around the year 1715. This was a ship laden with treasure, and he has been diligently searching for it over the past 8 years. He is utilizing a drilling apparatus with his friend to uncover evidence beneath the sea. The drilling equipment is situated on his boat, which is powered by a generator, and subsequently a spark emerges in the generator, resulting in a fire. A fire erupts. The paper is carried into their possessions, causing the entire vessel to ignite in flames, and soon it collides with the ocean surface, stirring up a significant amount of sand. As the sand disperses, Finn discovers a fragment of a plate in his hand, originating from the year 1715. This plate had been presented to the queen as a portion of her dowry, and uncovering this fragment brings them immense joy. Subsequently, Finn and his companion ascend to the water surface and observe that their boat has vanished. The two oblivious individuals failed to comprehend that the object responsible for the sand's upheaval, which ultimately landed in Finn's grasp, was actually Warren's body that had descended into the water. Both of them realized that their vessel had submerged, and at that moment, two individuals arrived and escorted Finn to another ship to meet their superior. This person is a gangster, and this gangster had previously provided Finn with a substantial sum of money, and now he demands its return. However, they have no funds remaining. He possesses only one. The joke has sunk. Then he shows him the piece of the plate and explains that this plate was from the treasure ship that sank in the water hundreds of years ago, and now I know it must be nearby where I found this plate. I can find that treasure. I need your help with this. He shows the gangster the piece of the plate. The gangster thinks it's just an ordinary piece, so he doesn't believe him and tells his men to just throw it in the water. The gangster's men start tying heavy things to his legs with chains to throw him into the water, but he attempts to halt his actions and in doing so successfully seizes a man's firearm. They hurl him into the water, but he clings to their vessel and inflicts injuries on both individuals. Regrettably, he also plunges into the water. His legs are bound with weighty items, causing him to sink beneath the surface. He observes that the firearm is not far away. Somehow he manages to reach the firearm. He then shoots Sanjeev and liberates himself, returning to the surface. Now he must attend court today because it is the day of his divorce proceedings with his wife. Inside the courtroom, his spouse and the judge are anticipating his arrival, yet he fails to appear for an extended period. The judge declares that if he does not show up within the next quarter of an hour, all of his assets and possessions will be awarded to her, and she will also be granted the divorce. And that is precisely what transpires. He arrives belatedly, by which point the judge has already rendered the decision in favor of his wife. Finn attempts to explain to his wife, but she responds, "I'm exhausted from dealing with you. 8 years ago, you abandoned me for treasure hunting, and now I desire to live my life in my own manner. I want to live my life and complete my studies." Fino inquires about the source of her funds for this. She clarifies that the judge decided in her favor, granting her a claim on all of his assets. She intends to sell his board to finish her education. Renu informs her that he is in serious trouble. Upon hearing this, Tess becomes extremely furious and strikes him on the head with a stick. However, he now informs Tess that he has discovered the location of the sunken ship which holds the treasure. He presents her with a symbol on paper. It is the royal emblem of Jacques, which was taken by their youngster. She becomes extremely delighted because she identifies this emblem. "Could you show me the player?" she inquires. He responds, "I do not have the plate with me at this moment." Dash senses that he might be deceiving her once more. Consequently, Tess departs feeling disheartened and returns to her previous position on the yacht, where her employer's name is Nigel. She desires to earn money by any means necessary so she can accumulate savings. She advises Shika to finish her education. She approaches her boss and states, "We ought to depart from this place." She is not inclined to return to that location once more, but her employer, Nigella, declines to depart. He mentions that his daughter is arriving here. She has some shopping to do on a neighboring island. In the meantime, Finn is depicted as reuniting with his longtime friend with whom he was previously searching for treasure. His friend informs him that there is a yacht in close proximity with an exceedingly wealthy individual named Nigella aboard. "He might be willing to finance your treasure expedition," Finn inquires. "But how will I identify him?" His friend tells him that Nigella's daughter is arriving here by helicopter. To arrive at that destination, you will need to establish a friendship with his daughter, and at that precise moment, they observe a young woman disembarking from a helicopter. In fact, this is Nigel's daughter. Nigel's daughter subsequently begins making her way toward the island with her board. Finn likewise begins making his way toward the yacht with his motorboat, and at that moment, Nigel's daughter's hat is swept away by the wind. Finn leaps to retrieve the hat. He successfully retrieves her hat, but then his motorboat collides with Nigel's daughter's boat. Finn falls into the water, but Nigel's daughter assists him out of the water and onto her boat. Finn is escorted onto the luxurious yacht where he encounters Nigel for the initial time. Nigel's daughter mentions that Finn made an attempt to rescue her hat and that he is indeed a very kind-hearted individual. Nigel extends an invitation to Finn for dinner that evening, and when everyone is gathered around the dinner table, Tess arrives and lets out a scream upon seeing Finn. It is at this moment that Nigel comes to the realization that they are already acquainted. Following dinner, Finn elaborates that he and Tess were once married but are now divorced, and both Tess and Finn share an interest in the treasure. They narrate that in the year 1715, a fleet of Spanish vessels was transporting the treasure of a deposed king, which encompassed the king's dowry. Among these vessels, there was one named Aurelia, reputed to be capable of withstanding fierce storms. Consequently, the entire treasure was transferred to that particular ship. All the ships sank during the storm. However, 3 years following this incident, a man was spotted on an island, and he was none other than the captain of the Aurelia vessel who had managed to save the ship containing the entire treasure. He found it. And now I have discovered a significant clue about that ancient ship. It is a fragment of the ship's plate that I uncovered at the bottom of the sea. This indicates that the ship, along with the treasure, is located somewhere in the vicinity. After listening to the entire story, Nick and his daughter prepare themselves to embark on a quest for the treasure. However, the following morning, it is revealed that Kingster has purchased the entire island. Near the tranquil area at the bottom of the sea, Finn discovered a fragment of that royal plate. It appears straightforward and mentions that you ought not to have informed him regarding the ship with the treasure. Now, how shall we locate the treasure? The sister remarks that although he purchased the island, he did not acquire the water, and that is precisely where the ship resides. They also arrive at the location and observe that a vessel is already conducting an underwater search, and it is none other than Finn's entire mentor. He declares that the treasure belongs to him. He states that whoever discovers the treasure first shall possess it, and then silently dives into the water. He notices that his mentor and his team are underwater, where they were strategically placing dynamite precisely where the fragment of the plate had been discovered, and after positioning the dynamite, they ascended above the water. A companion began severing their wires at that location, but then he inadvertently cut the incorrect wire, resulting in a minor explosion, and unexpectedly, a Spanish royal sword materialized in his grasp, leaving everyone utterly astonished. Finman and his associates also observed Finn beneath the water's surface. However, Finn remarked and advised against detonating in the water due to Finn's presence, but his associate accidentally triggered a blast, causing a significant explosion, and he soars through the air with the water and eventually lands on his mentor's vessel, after which his mentor subjects him to a severe beating, and the Spanish sword he possessed ultimately finds its way onto Nigel's yacht. Subsequently, they are returned to Nigel's yacht. Later that night, when Finn awakens in his room, he is lost in deep contemplation. Tess is also pondering over something and enters Finn's room only to find it empty. In reality, he has already made his way to the island where the gangster's residence is situated. He intends to inquire something from the gangster's men. Each of the gangster's men, he pretends to lose consciousness, and upon regaining his senses, he discovers himself standing before the gangster. He then informs him that the individual you have employed to locate the treasure was once my mentor. He is incapable of discovering the treasure for you. I will locate it for you instead. In exchange, I will offer you 10% of the treasure. Upon hearing this, the gangster bursts into laughter because he desires the entire treasure. He states that if you successfully find the treasure for me, I will allow you to live, and then he permits them to leave. Finn makes his way back to the yacht where he encounters Tess. She asks, how much money did you take from the gangster? He says that he took $60,000 from him, and if he doesn't return it, the gangster will kill him. The next morning, they all start searching for the treasure at the bottom of the sea once again. After searching the entire day, they still don't find any trace of the treasure there. At night, Finn, Tess, Nigel, and all their companions are sitting together. They are all disheartened. They can't understand why they haven't found the treasure or the ship. The train says that the water here is very clean. If the ship were here, someone would have surely seen it by now. This means the ship is not here. Just then, the captain of their yacht arrives and says that a storm is coming, so we need to take the yacht to the North Beach. Saying this, he leaves. After hearing him, I run, follow him, and ask why he wants to take the yacht to the North Beach. Is there something he knows? There is a beach around Ireland's North Beach where rocks don't come, and then it becomes clear. The ship's captain has hidden the ship. They concealed it, and during the nighttime when they venture there, they plunge into the testing waters and commence their search for that chip beneath the sea's surface. Soon thereafter, they spot the cannon of the Spanish vessel there and come to the realization that the captain of the Australian ship likely attempted to navigate the ship to this particular shore in an effort to save it, which ultimately resulted in its sinking at this location. Now, as the morning arrives, both of them begin excavating on the beach where they uncover items associated with the shipwreck that are exceedingly old, yet they do not discover any sign of the treasure in this specific area. Subsequent to this, both individuals conjecture that the captain of the ship could have concealed the treasure somewhere on the island, and there exists a remarkably ancient church on this island. They suggest that there might be a hint or clue to the treasure within that church. Both of them proceed to the church where they discover a very old book, and one of them begins to read it. The book reveals that I was not the initial person to arrive here, as the Spanish had already been present before. There was also a woman named Aurelia, and her record remains intact. Upon hearing this, both of them are utterly astonished because Australia, it was not the name of the ship but rather the designation of that ship. The treasure was within the ship. Both individuals proceed to the cemetery. They discover a grave bearing the name Aurelia, and upon excavating it, they uncover a drum containing several notes penned by the ship's captain. He documented that after extensive searching, he located a place to conceal the treasure. However, no one can locate that treasure because the location where he hid it is a deadly trap, perpetually filled with water throughout the year. Only once or twice during December can a person... Upon hearing all of this information, they come to the realization that the treasure is concealed within the blue hole. The blue hole is a specific type of cave that is connected to the sea and opens up at the surface, but it is perpetually filled with water. Before they are able to reach the location, a gangster arrives with his men. He demands the diary that was discovered inside the grave. He points a gun at them and a fight ensues. Fino and Tess manage to escape on a motorcycle, but then Tess falls off the motorcycle. When Scene glances back, his motorcycle unexpectedly tumbles off a cliff, resulting in a massive explosion. Dance believes that Film has perished, and she lets out a piercing scream. In the meantime, the gangster arrives with his crew, and they successfully capture Tess. Subsequently, they escort her in the direction of the Blue Hall. Yogi has already discovered the precise location of the treasure. They securely fasten a rope around Tess's waist and lower her into the Blue Hole. As Tess descends, she observes that there exists an underwater tunnel. She ventures into the tunnel and discovers the treasure resting at the bottom. Additionally, there is a Spanish cannon present there. She detaches the rope from her waist and attaches it to the cannon, then seizes the treasure box. The water pressure is imminent, and as soon as it arrives, the treasure from her hands. The container soars away. As a result, the golden coins contained within the box burst forth like a fountain due to the intense water pressure. Observing this, the gangsters comprehend that the treasure is truly submerged, prompting both of them to plunge into the water. Meanwhile, Finn is depicted. He, still alive, requests assistance from his mentor in locating the treasure. Finn has now reached this site as well. He notices the gangsters, shoots at them, but subsequently arrives at the Blue Hole. He observes that Tess is beneath. In order to rescue Tess, he leaps downward. The gangster's two associates are positioned below, and once more the water pressure is imminent. Consequently, Tess secures Finn to herself with a rope. However, before the water pressure arrives again, one of the gangster's men retrieves the box of golden coins and surfaces. He inquires about the whereabouts of his fellow associate. They respond that he remains submerged, and then the gangster observes an intense surge of water emerging from the Blue Hole, which is tinged with red. In reality, his associate also ascended with this pressure after colliding with the rocks. The gangster becomes extremely furious upon witnessing this. He commands his associate equipped with the water arrow to eliminate both of them. Following this, his associate proceeds in that direction, but now Finn's mentor is present as well. He notices the gangster's associate underwater, who is on the verge of attacking Tess and Finn, so he dives into the water. The gangster's associate launches an attack with a water arrow on the cement, causing an injury to his leg. Subsequently, a confrontation ensues between the two, and a gangster is depicted attempting to retrieve the treasure-laden box. He endeavors to retrieve the treasure-laden box, yet it slips from his hold and impacts the head of his associate beneath the water, leading to his demise. At this moment, Tess and Finn also ascend to the surface, and the gangster apprehends Tess, placing her onto the aircraft, commencing its takeoff. Tess makes an effort to attack him, but the gangster renders her unconscious. Just prior to the aircraft's departure, Nigel's daughter arrives with a water scooter. She aids Finn to the shore and assists him in reaching the plane. It's about to occur. The gangster firmly seizes Finn and now notices that the film is precariously clinging to the airplane. He swings the door open and attempts to fire at him. However, at that moment, Tess regains her consciousness and delivers a powerful kick, sending him plummeting into the water below. Finn swiftly re-enters the plane and assumes control, but they remain unaware of the exact location of the entire Spanish treasure and are unsure how to properly land the aircraft. Consequently, their plan crashes, yet both of them miraculously survive. Following this event, Finn proposes to Tess for marriage once again. They both have rekindled their romantic relationship. By the conclusion of this narrative, it is revealed that after discovering the treasure, they all become exceedingly wealthy. Additionally, Tess is expecting a child, signifying that all the Spanish treasure they uncovered has been securely placed in a museum. Visitors from across the globe come to admire it, and with this scene, the film and the story reach their conclusion. Which movie would you be interested in hearing about next? Kindly let me know in the comments section below as I read your comments, and I'm sincerely grateful for your wonderful feedback.